Thank you so much for having me. I'm just going to take a little bit of time. We're just going to talk about hearing loss in general, and then we'll talk about staying connected through assistive technology, because I think just not everybody understands what hearing loss is, what the effects are. So we're just going to do that, and then just really talking about communication. So I'm Linda Strelitz. I, for one, have hearing loss myself. I have been with CapTel, Caption Telephone, for 11.5 years. And every day I get to bring the gift of communication to others and reconnect them with their family, friends. So here we go. Let's begin. So hearing loss in the US, as I said, I have hearing loss as well. So 48 million Americans and growing have hearing loss. It's the third most common chronic affliction in the US, surpassed by arthritis and hypertension. Wow. Age, as we know, is a contributing factor, and as baby boomers age, hearing loss is an epidemic. But as we know, hearing loss affects all ages. It doesn't discriminate. But hearing loss in older adults, it definitely does affect them more. So hearing loss related to the aging process caused by a combination of changes to blood flow and the structure of the inner ear, changes to the nerve of hearing, how the brain processes speech and sounds. Hearing loss due to aging can be increased by other factors such as diabetes, poor circulation, noise exposure, and even certain medications can cause hearing loss. 30 to 35% of adults between the ages of 65 and 75 suffer from hearing loss, and 40 to 50% of adults 75 and older suffer from hearing loss. We know people with untreated hearing loss, those who do not wear hearing aids or do anything about it, experience a decreased quality of life. Untreated hearing loss can have, be related to sadness, depression, even cognitive decline, and poor social relationships. And did you know, honestly, did you know that it's your brain that hears and not your ears? A lot of people feel that you hear with your ears, but you actually hear with your brain. Your ears are just a funnel. Here's a quick little anatomy. How do we hear? Sound waves travel through our outer ear to the cochlea, which is the spiral-shaped purple thing here, that's in the inner ear, and the cochlea contains hair cells that convert sound waves into electrical signals that are sent to the brain for interpretation, and it also helps to distinguish different frequencies or sound. The cochlea is essential for hearing, and damage to the cochlea can result in hearing loss. So to give you an idea, here are normal hair cells, and here is hair cells that have been damaged. So this looks what hearing loss looks like. One of the other things, if you have hearing loss and people are saying, okay, I get it, you have hearing loss, what does that mean? What is the difference? You said you can't hear this, it's mild, it's more severe here. So what we did is we put together a visual, what are you missing? And it takes basically a regular sentence. Do you want to go to the store tomorrow? And then based on the level of hearing loss, so if your family says, I have mild hearing loss, okay, so they might not be able to hear some of the words in the sentence, or moderate, more words are missing. Severe hearing loss, you don't have that many. And then tinnitus or tinnitus is that constant ringing in the ear. So a lot of times if you're talking to your family, I know this helped a lot with my kids because they didn't understand my hearing. Mom, what can you hear, what you can't hear? So this is kind of a great visual based on what types of hearing loss. We hear in everyday life, we hear emotionally, for relationships, we need hearing. Socially, we go to, we watch TV, we go to movies, restaurants, psychologically, we want to have that self-esteem, make sure we're understanding and responding to what is being said. Environmentally, being aware of safety. Do you hear the fire truck? Do you hear the ambulance? In educational world events, you want to be in tune to everything that's going on. And a lot of times people with hearing loss, they just don't get it. They don't understand what's going on. And it's so important. So hearing can impact overall health. So everything with your health, it's all connected. We talked about cognitive decline, obesity, smoking. People that smoke have a higher risk of hearing loss. Isolation, we talked about, your heart. So it's all connected, which people don't realize. Communication tips. So if you have hearing loss and you're saying, look, I want to hear you, I want to understand everything you're saying, this is what you need to do, ask for their attention, because really, if you can't see their face, that's not going to help. If someone's talking to you and their back is turned, like I say to my kids, no, I can't hear you, why don't you turn towards me? The importance of body language. A lot of people talk with their hands, so you definitely want to make sure that you're facing them. A big thing that people don't understand is, okay, if you have hearing loss, maybe if I shout, maybe then the volume, you'll be able to hear me. But the big thing with shouting is it's just noise. It doesn't come any louder. It's just all muffled together. We always say, do not cover your mouth. Again, masks have an issue. I can't read your lips. Some people read lips. I think the only positive thing that came out of COVID with people wearing masks, people that didn't have hearing loss really got to understand what it's like to have hearing loss, because they couldn't understand. What did you say? I can't understand you through that mask. Well, with somebody with hearing loss, that's their life every day. You want to talk to somebody in a quiet place, not so loud. Make sure your acoustics are good. You can rephrase instead of repeating a question because maybe they didn't understand it the way that you said it. Be patient. It's really important to be patient. Try not to get frustrated if we can't understand. A lot of times, we try to be creative and think of ways not to say, what'd you say? Huh? Can't hear you. The music's too loud, or this person was talking. It's hard enough for us because we feel embarrassed. Like, I can't hear you. Can you repeat yourself? And we're tired, we're tired of saying it, or sometimes you might lean into somebody. So just be patient, understand we're really trying to comprehend what you're saying, because again, it's not your ears that are hearing, it's your brain. So you've got to understand that it's not just going through my ear. Okay, yes, I can understand it. I can't. And then just, if you're saying, okay, you know what, I know you have hearing loss, what would be the best for you? Is it, I'm at a restaurant, is it better for you if I sit on your left side, if I sit on your right side, if I sit across from you? Really taking into account, their needs. It's no different where somebody's wearing glasses. Okay, well, where's the best thing for you to sit? Is it better for you to sit closer here? So it's the same thing. It's really asking them that you care, you're considering their needs. And actually, this is crazy because the EPA deems what is safe to listen to in a 24-hour period. I don't know if you can see everything, 70 to 80 decibels. So if you believe it or not, a hair dryer, when you use a hair dryer every day, that's 60 to 95 decibels. If you like to make smoothies in the morning, that's 80 decibels. So all this is in your home. A garbage disposal, that alone is 70. So we don't think about all the decibels that we listen to just in our homes. So obviously it's not safe. And then of course, for hearing loss, what can we do? There are assisted listening devices, there's amplified telephones, personal listening devices for your TV. So you can just hear, the person with hearing loss, it's able to go in their ears, and the other people in the room, it doesn't have to be blaring. They could have it at a regular level. A lot of times people can't hear alarms, especially on cell phones. So there is actually the bed shaker I actually have one of those too, because I'm always worried if I have to get up really, really early in the morning. Oh my God, what if I don't hear my alarm? So it shakes the bed. And then this is really interesting for hearing loss. It's really changing your mindset. So every year is they have a day, World Hearing Day. This day was March 3rd, and who the World Health Organization just really wants you to change your mindset about hearing loss. You know, there's the myth, hearing loss is just for old age. No, it's not. It can happen at any age. Hearing loss is inevitable. I'm going to get it. No, it definitely can be prevented. How? Sound exposure, turned on your TV, turned on your radio. Don't be like me. That was one of the people. I love live music, but of course I was one that went right up to the stage, right next to the speaker. Hearing aids, the myth, they don't work well. Related better hearing, better life. And if you don't feel they can work well and you do have hearing aids, talk to your audiologist or hearing instrument specialist. Say, you know what, they're not, something isn't right. Maybe they need to be programmed because I'm not hearing, it's not loud enough. What can I do? So don't be afraid to ask, because a lot of times you get hearing aids, you wear them for a while, and then they need to be programmed, and that's okay. The big thing, of course, hearing aids are too expensive, but they want you to think about it's an investment, in your quality of life. You wouldn't think twice about getting glasses. Why do you think about getting twice, for hearing aids? And then tinnitus. If people have that constant ringing in the ears, that is hearing loss. That's definitely your hearing loss is coming. So really just making yourselves aware, I would say, probably between 45 to 50 years old, everybody should just get a baseline hearing test just to see where they're at. You can go to a lot of places and just get a hearing test just to see, has my hearing changed? Maybe you go at 50 and then you go again, you were fine, go again at 60, 70, because you don't know what different sounds you've been affected to, the noise, it could definitely change. Even, again, people ask me, well, what about the over-the-counter hearing aids? Great. You know what? You're recognizing that you have a hearing loss and you're trying to help yourself. So when I talk to audiologists about that, they're fine. If you want to try over-the-counter hearing aids, try them, because you're doing something about it. You're wearing ear protection when you're outside snow blowing or leaf blowing. You're wearing earplugs when you go to concerts. So again, making yourselves aware of your hearing is so important. And then so I said with the phone, so the phone, like I said, through COVID, you couldn't always see people. Everybody was sick. You couldn't go to their house. How did you communicate with people? Well, the phone became your lifeline. So with hearing loss, you really want to make sure that you really understand what is being said on the phone. It may not just be the volume, it may be the understanding. So do you really know what people are saying on the phone? So for instance, Red Lobster sounds like Red Robin, but they're two different things. But I hear they're both red, but I may not hear the other one, Lobster, Robin. And then, trouble hearing on the phone, it just, with hearing loss, just becomes impossible. It's their important source of safety and social connection. So like we said, fortunately, there's the caption telephone service. What is a caption phone? It's similar to closed caption on TV, but provided at no cost for people with hearing loss. So it's the same idea when you're watching TV and you have the closed caption on, the same thing. So what happens is when somebody's talking to you on the phone, whatever they say automatically comes to your phone, word for word what they say. Same idea as closed captioning on TV. How the telephone benefits of it, you hear what you can, you have what you need to, you regain independence over the phone. So I always say, if you don't feel you need the screen, because the CapTel phone is also amplified, don't worry about looking at the screen all the time if you feel you can hear, but know that every conversation is saved that you can go back to. So every phone call you have that you take will be automatically saved on the phone. Having the phone, you regain your independence. You can start making your own appointments, making your own plans. A lot of times people with hearing loss, they can't do that. Several times when I'm going to schedule appointments to install a phone, I have to talk to a family member because they can't understand. So a lot of times I have to do that with a family member. It looks and acts like any other phone. So there's really no new technology to learn. You pick up the phone. How can it help somebody? It provides sound amplification. Like I said, it is amplified. It improves the clarity. It shows the caption of the entire conversation. Our phones have answering machines, so all the messages are captioned, and it really allows for the natural flow during a conversation. You do have the ability, if you want, you can pause. If you really felt you needed the screen, you can definitely pause the conversation and read until you catch up, and then you can be like, okay, go ahead, I'm caught up now. It changed people's lives. Like again, I said, it improves communication with family and friends. You facilitate engagement in life, build self-esteem and self-confidence. And again, it slows cognitive decline because reading is exercising your brain, and that is so important. And it just makes you feel safe too, again, with all the scams going on. Do you really understand what somebody is saying? You never want to say, is this Linda? Yes. You could say, who's calling? You really want to make sure who's calling you, because they can get you at any angle these days. So safety, is so important. But really, it improves the communication with your family. I know people ask, well, how does that happen? I said, well, a lot of times when you're on the phone and you're talking with someone with hearing loss, yes, sure, yeah, they have no idea what they're saying. So really what you could say to somebody is, I feel that sometimes you're not understanding everything in our conversation, and I really want you to be involved. I don't want you to miss anything. Um, I've had over the years, I just felt terrible where I've had a bunch of clients miss funerals because they left details on the answering machine. And like I said, answering machine messages are so hard to understand, especially people are calling from cell phones, they're mumbling, and that's something you can't get back. So it's just so important to be able to be there to understand what is being said. Oh, I got engaged. Oh, I had the baby. I mean, oh my God, life events, you don't want to miss. So many times people with hearing loss, they don't even want to talk on the phone. They just like pick it up and it's just noise, and they just don't answer. Well, then they're not living. They're not part of the living. They're not part of engaging, and you just want them to have a better life. We have multiple models available. So this was one of the original ones. Then we realized that a lot of people with hearing loss also had low vision. So we took the base model and put it on a bigger screen. Then everybody wanted the bells and the whistles, a speaker phone, a touch screen. So that's this one. This one also has a flasher on top that'll flash when it rings, or we can set it if you have a message on your answering machine, it'll flash. All the phones include the adjustable volume. Like I said, it's 40 decibels higher than a regular phone. We can help them adjust phone selection and customize. Even for people with glaucoma, we can do black background with yellow or white writing. They all have built-in answering machines. We have 24/7 customer service, which is in Madison, Wisconsin. So they speak English as a first language. I always say customer service is so hard for people with hearing loss. I try to call people and I'm like, oh no, I can't understand. And I'm like, I love your accent. However, I have hearing loss. I need to speak with someone that speaks English as a first language. That's a nicer way of saying I can't understand you, but that helps. We've got a phone book that holds like 100 names. There's speed dials that we can program for family. If they already have caller ID capability on their phone service, then that will show up on the CapTel phone as well. And we do have Spanish to Spanish captions. So this is the most popular. This is the touchscreen phone. It's got the speaker phone. Like I said, it's got the built-in flasher. One of the neat things about it, families or you, if you're tech savvy, can go and make a whole website. You can go on and make an ad, you go on this website and make a whole list and you can upload photos. So you can put, instead of just doing the names, you actually can upload the photos, which is kind of neat, especially maybe for someone that's got mild to cognitive decline, and then they know who they're calling. What makes CapTel stand out? We're the creator of the captioning technology. Our phone, like I said, is made in Madison. We have the most accurate captioning service. We actually now have a Braille CapTel phone because we want to make sure everybody has the ability to use our phones. 24/7 customer service. You own the phone. There's no contracts or agreements to sign. We will never require you to have the phone be returned. If something does happen to the phone, which it can fall, it can crack, it can have a power surge, we will come and replace it. This was new. So again, we have a 99.8 accuracy rate, which is really big. So again, it's auto captions. And then the newest feature that we really like is no landline. So now you don't need a phone line. As long as you have internet, we can provide a phone line through the CapTel phone, no cost. And we just celebrated 25 years that we've been offering captioning technology. So that's exciting. And again, how could it be no cost? What's the catch? Linda, come on, there has to be a catch. There's not. It's covered under the American with Disabilities Act because hearing loss is an invisible disability. So it doesn't go through Medicare or Medicaid. It goes through the ADA. Simply, you'll see there's a form that they can fill out, or somebody can just email me because now you can self-certify. Once we send in the form, it's done. It doesn't have to go through insurance. FCC regulates the funds used to pay for the captioning service. So there's no cost to you and no age or income verification. Could CapTel help you or someone you know with hearing loss? Do you or they have hearing loss? Do they rely on a family member or caregiver or a friend to help with their phone calls? Big thing, do you or they have trouble understanding phone messages? I know before I had my phone, I had to listen like 4 times. And do they find that they have to ask people to repeat themselves? Why people love the CapTel. It's so much more than a phone. It's independence, confidence, and safety. Is an opportunity to be connected with friends, family, and really live independently with hearing loss and not feel alone. Because we all love to talk on the phone and be part, of your family, of your relationships, and it just so you don't have that isolation. All you need is hearing loss, electrical power, some type of dial tone, whether you have a landline or you have some type of VoIP, such as Magic Jack or UMA, internet access or Wi-Fi in a home or building. Like I said, if you don't have a dial tone, but you have internet, we can provide you with the landline as well, no cost, and it's actually through the phone.